almost done with the alert portion. T is test your ties for tightness. Test your ties for tightness. Now, what does that mean? Test your ties. Your ties are the people that are in your network. Your ties are things that you can use in your network. Your ties are people and things that you can help in your network. I mean, there might be people that said, hey, there might be somebody said, hey, when you come back in town, make sure you call me because I think I can do something for you. I think I can help you. And I've got a situation where I was coaching someone and they were telling me about a product that they were ready to deliver. They said, look, I'm excited. I've got the package. Not only do I have the package ready, I've got an investor who has the funds that they can drop on this particular situation to help me out. And I got a buyer who's interested in buying the product. Now all I have to do is deliver. And I got excited and we're just like, yeah, that's awesome, high-fiving. And so, practicing some of my previous stuff, I was asking questions with the person. I said, hey, well, when's the last time you talked to the investor? Just curious. And the person said, well, last time we talked about it, this was a couple years ago when he expressed it, but now I'm ready to do it. I said, okay, that's cool, that's cool. So what about the person that's the buyer? What was the last time you talked to that person? Well, let's see, it wasn't quite 2 years. I think it might have been about 18 months. I'm not sure. I said, oh, okay. So what do you think is going on here? Well, in my mind, what's going on is you better test your ties for tightness. You better check. And I told the guy, I said, look, this is all good. I said, but I want to make sure you're ready. Why don't you just reach out to those folks to just make sure they're there, okay? Make sure that, they're still on board, they're ready to rock and roll. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, we have another session, and you could probably guess what happened. Well, the person came in, they were kind of down, and they said, look, the person that was going to invest the money, they said, look, I haven't heard from you in a while. I wasn't sure if you were still going to do it. So I've invested in something else. And I thought, oh man, that's too bad. Now what about the buyer? The buyer still interested? They said, yeah, they're very much still interested. However, since I didn't make contact with them, they purchased something else. They needed several things, and this is one thing they were going to buy. Well, they put their money on something else. They said they're still interested, and when the funds become available, we'll reconsider it. So see what happened? If you would test your ties with tightness, that's like touching base with your contacts, touching base with the connections, touching base with your network, okay? You have to test your ties for tightness just to make sure. Now, what I also share with them is not the end of the road. You may find out that, hey, what you thought was going to happen is not going to happen anymore. But, hey, you just got to regroup and start all over. But if you test your ties for tightness along the way, you might find that there's an opportunity to recognize that, hey, maybe I better speed up before I lose the opportunity, or you'll know sooner that you got to change your direction. A little story came up, and I have to correct myself because I was in Augusta, Georgia some time ago. I was doing this same talk to an audience, and I was sharing with them this story about going on a camping trip with my dad, and I said, it was something that we had on the camper that, I was tying the bikes up at a young age. My responsibility to tie the bikes on the camper before we left, and we were driving off, and we heard this noise, and he said, hey David, did you tie those bikes up good? And I said, yes sir. So he had to pull off the side of the road. Make a long story short, we checked them, and the bikes were barely on. And then I told my dad, I said, Dad, I used the story when we went camping. Remember the bikes when I didn't tie the bikes up good? And he was looking at me smiling, and then I saw a smile kind of fade away when I was telling him about it. And he says, that wasn't the bikes. It was the boat on top of the camper. I was like, oh, it was the boat. I knew it was something that wasn't tight. But we had to actually have one of those rowboats. We had to take the rowboat on top of the Winnebago, tie it down, and that could have been dangerous. And so, again, you check your ties. When you're doing your ties, you check them. And when you're doing something in life and you're doing something on your journey, you check them.